Steelers hire Dan Quinn to match with their new general manager, Adam Peters, to lead this franchise into the future.
The way that we live is not for everybody, okay? It's not, all right? Because we're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So I'll make this short and sweet. They've done everything right up until this point in terms of preparing for this Cardinals game on the road against a tough opponent in a tough environment in a place that we haven't had a ton of success against a quarterback that we've never beaten. They've done everything right, from leaving straight from Cincinnati to Arizona, to staying there the entire week, to blocking out the noise, making it about them, not allowing them to ride the roller coaster of emotions. You know, that was a big performance on Monday, and you can't help but immerse yourself in that. But they didn't allow the players to come back home and be in that environment. Instead, they went straight to Arizona and got straight to business of trying to find a way to make it 2 straight on the road and 3 straight overall. They're locked in. They're focused. They've said all the right things, from Jaden Daniels saying, hey, that game's over with. On to the next game. They've done all the right things from preparing themselves from a health standpoint, guys that had injuries, taking it easy on them. Now, you got to complete the process. And that's go out and find a way to win the game. That's the toughest part. But you've put yourself in the best position to get that done. Now it's the moment of truth. Can you go out and get it done? Vegas still says you can't. And a lot of people aren't quite sure if we're legit or not. And another win isn't going to change their minds, but it's another step in that direction. And forget about people outside of our little bubble here, right? Forget about people who don't believe. How about us as fans who want to believe, who just need another win, another push, another performance that sells them on the fact that this is real and you can be all in? I've done so much mental gymnastics this week, it's not even funny. And I pride myself on being pretty even keel, level-headed when it comes to this team, because I've seen everything. I've seen a Super Bowl. I've seen the highs. I've seen the lows. And everything in between. I've experienced it all. Now, a Super Bowl as an adult would be epic. Haven't had one of those yet. But I've seen everything that you can see as a fan. I've been at the lowest of lows and the highest of highs. But I tend to lean towards being cautious when it comes to this team. I want to make sure this week I let my guard down. And I'm not afraid to say that I've let it down. But there's still some things that I'm wrestling with in my mind. This game is one of those things that I'm still wrestling with in my mind. How do I go about it? Don't want to jinx it. And I'm past the don't want to jinx it stage. I told you guys that the other day when I was on the Super Friends stream. Past the don't jinx it stage. I'm so confident. But it's a game like this that's going to drill home that confidence for me. Make me feel even good about being confident. If they can find a way to go out and play the way that they've played the last 2 weeks, especially Monday night. But hell, they haven't punted in 2 weeks. Scored on every possession the last 2 weeks. If they can continue that and again, look, that streak's going to end eventually. But there are other things that they've done to make me feel like, hey, this is different. Here's another opportunity for them to go out and prove that this is, in fact, different. Because it is different. And I've told you that a million times. It is different. Here's another opportunity to prove that. And we're going to put a little extra sauce on this one. He won't come out and say it, and he shouldn't come out and say it. But last week, a little bit of that was for Kliff. College offense, right? They don't ask him to do too much. Kliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator, right? Yeah, that's a nice little college offense. Last week was a little bit for Kliff. Oh, you talking shit, bitch? Cool. Won't get upset. We just gonna come into your stadium, kick a hole in your season, and then jet. Arizona fired Kliff Kingsbury. Ain't got nothing to do with us. Kliff ain't take it personal, so we don't need to take it personal. But that's not how this works. You want to win this game, and after the game, you want to give Kliff the game ball because Kliff went back to the scene of the crime and got some revenge. So if you ain't going to do it for you or the man next to you, do it for Kliff. We'll see if they can finish the job because this has been a flawlessly executed week. In other news, have you seen the Brian Robinson Jr. mic'd up? That was awesome, right? And, you know, in the environment that he was in, they mic'd up the right person. You know, only other person that they could have probably mic'd up would have been Terry. But we heard everything we needed to see. I don't know if you guys, look, I talked about them doing everything right to this point. You know who else is doing everything right? The social media team is doing everything right. The hype video before the game was epic. The victory video that they put out, I'm gonna say it was Wednesday, was fire. That shit was cold-blooded. I retweeted it out, and all I said was that shit cold. That shit was cold, bro. And then the mic'd up, and I've seen different little clips that they've put together of, you know, shots and footage that they've gotten on the sideline. And what I didn't realize after Terry scored is he did the night-night. And then if you watch the mic'd up with Brian Robinson Jr., Terry comes off and he daps everybody up. Night-night, night-night, right? And, you know, everybody knew Terry needed this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew. Fans knew. But it was funny to hear the players say it. Eckler, sitting next to B-Rob, says, yo, this was after the first one, the 55-yarder to set up the second touchdown. He said to B-Rob, yo, he needed that. We needed that, but he needed that. He needed that bad. And everybody knew it. And it was, you could tell that Terry needed it because of his reaction. Terry's a even-keeled dude, right? We know Terry gets hype. You know, when he makes plays, he does get hype. But that was next level, right? That reminded me, I haven't seen Terry that hype since Indy. And that one made sense. He was going back home in front of family and friends, and he made the game-winning play to put it away or to get us the win, actually, and in epic fashion. And so, yeah, he had every right to be hyped. This my shit. You remember that? This my shit. This was reminiscent of that. And remember, he played at Ohio State, so it's almost like being back home. He's from the Midwest, so it all made sense. But hearing X say that, seeing the reaction on the sideline, listening to Jaden Daniels explain the play, like, bro, I saw you with the double move. Terry's like, I gave him a nasty double move, right? I gave him that stutter. And he's like, I saw it. As soon as I saw that, I let it go. And just listening to them, you know, play the playback. Awesome stuff, man. If you haven't watched the Mic'd Up with Brian Robinson Jr., do yourself a favor. Check it out. Really good stuff. We heard from DQ today to wrap up the week of practice, to give us the lowdown on the injury report for the team, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get to that in a second, but as I just mentioned, the injury report. Let's get our final look at the injury report for both teams heading into this Week 4 contest, starting with the good guys. So at the time of this video, they hadn't updated the injury report in terms of the visual, but we had already got verbal confirmation, which is way more important than the visual. We already knew that Cleveland Farrell and Austin Eckler were out of this game. Jamison Crowder hadn't practiced all week. I told you it didn't look good for him. He's out of this game as well with a calf. No one else is on the injury report. There isn't any questionables, probable, none of that, right? Everybody else is ready to go. Cosme's going to play. Quan Martin's playing. Benjamin St. Juste is playing. Manuel Forbes is playing. Johnny Newton is playing. So everyone else is fine, which is what DQ told us at the beginning of the week, right? So he gave us his word that everything was fine and everything else was fine, with the exception of Jamison Crowder, which it's okay, right? We'll survive. You get to the ops, and the two guys that hadn't practiced all week aren't playing. Trey McBride, the tight end, that's a big loss for them. He's their best tight end. He's out. And their defensive lineman, Tonga, is out. Everybody else is going to play. Everybody else is going to play, which is what we pretty much expected. Both sides had no surprises, crop up at the end of the week. They stayed true to their injury report for much of the week. The guys that hadn't practiced aren't playing. The guys that have practiced are playing. And so no breaks over here. As I mentioned, the Cardinals did have some injuries last game. Most notably, their starting right tackle is done for the season with an injury. So that's going to be something that they'll have to adjust to. But Trey McBride is out of this game as well. So getting back to in other news, DQ hit the podium and talked about the preparation for this game, feeling good about the work that they put in this week. They feel prepared. And he talked about the defense in particular and how they have to defend Kyler Murray. That's going to be important. He's unlike anybody we've faced this season. And it's a really good precursor to the next two quarterbacks that we're going to see, because you're going to see Deshaun Watson after this and Lamar Jackson after that. So this is as good a practice as you're going to get for those two guys who are very nimble and mobile. Watson's very, slippery, hard to get down on the ground. And Lamar is a different animal. He's similar to Kyler Murray in the regard that he's just almost impossible to sack. You got to almost catch him off guard. And he's almost impossible to catch behind the line of scrimmage, right? He doesn't get caught unless he wants to be caught, essentially. Throw it out of bounds, get 1 yard and run out of bounds, whatever. It's hard to sack, guys like Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. And so, John Keim phrased it like, hey, you dealt with Baker Mayfield in week 1, and DQ was quick to say, this ain't that. This is a whole different animal, totally different animal that we're dealing with here. It's a whole different set of circumstances that you got at your feet here, and you got to figure out how to not let this guy absolutely crush you in this game. Because much like the quarterback we have, and we've seen it already in just the first 3 weeks, he can crush your soul on third down. Kyler Murray is the exact same way, right? So it's not gonna be easy, and so we'll see how they deal with it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have a lot of confidence. I'm just gonna keep it a full buck with you. Keep it a bean. I am not confident at all in this defense's ability to stop nor slow down Kyler Murray in this game. So we'll see what happens. But they are getting Emmanuel Forbes back, and I'm hoping that the third time's the charm, right? Third time's the charm. Last year he got injured. He came back. This year, so you had him benched, came back, injured, came back, injured. This time he's coming back. Let's hope that the third time's the charm for Emmanuel Forbes, right? So he talked about, also DQ talked about the captains. He gave us the 3 captains for this game. On offense, it's Nick Allegretti. On defense, it's Quan Martin. And on special teams, it's Jeremy McNichols. And he's expounded upon Jeremy McNichols and, what he brings to the table And so he talked about McNichols, his toughness, a guy that you can rely on, because John Kahn brought up the block on that game-clinching touchdown to Terry. And he had just gotten the game not too long ago, right? Like, he hadn't been playing a ton up until late in the game. And for him to step in there, not know what's going on. We watched the film. You've all seen the play a million times. He's literally asking Jaden, what do I do on the snap? And then he goes into the B gap and upends a defender. It's just classic stuff, right? Things that we'll be talking about that block 10 years from now. You remember that block that Jeremy McNichols, when we talk about that play, because that play goes down in Commanders lore. When we talk about that play, you'll break down different aspects of it. One of the aspects that you'll break down is, hey, remember that block by Jeremy McNichols? That shit was crazy, right? Then he talked about special teams. Because Eckler is out, you got to figure out how you're going to try to replace him on special teams. There's no replacing what Eck brings to the table, obviously, but you want to figure out who's going to be back there. And he said, look, Noah Igbenogany's been back there a little bit. Luke McCaffrey's had some, shots at it back there. He said that obviously OZ's going to step into that role, which is what I think I'm most looking forward to, is OZ touching it back there. Because I think he gives us the next best chance to be explosive and dynamic back there. So I don't want Luke McCaffrey returning it. I've already seen Noah Igbenogany back there. I'm good, right, on him returning it. I want to see OZ being the main fielder of these kickoffs like Austin Eckler was, and let him have a go at it. So we'll see what happens there. He didn't make mention of exactly who is going to be brought up, because you've got multiple backs on the practice squad. They could either go with Chris Rodriguez or they could go with Michael Wiley. My guess is they'll go with Rodriguez, veteran, been there, done that, but we'll see what they decide to do. He pretty much, talked about this opportunity that's in front of them. They put in the work. Now go out, find a way to get it done. And it was another one. And the thing I love too about DQ is he's very personable. So these press conferences are usually lighthearted. There's humor. Somebody was honking a horn in the background consistently at the beginning, and he's like, "It sounds like they're ready for you guys to leave." So that was funny. Ben Standing asked some really morbid questions, and again, anytime someone's asking pointed questions like that. Most times when reporters are asking questions in general, which is why people get upset when they don't ask the questions that we want the answers to. A lot of times they're working on stories. They don't give a shit about what we want. They've got something that they need to fulfill, right? They've got a story that they're working on, and they need specific questions answered so that they have the sound bites that they need to help fill in the gaps of their story. So, Ben Stanley's probably working on a story about players getting towards the end of their careers and injuries and stuff. So he's asking these morbid questions, and DQ's like, bro, what the, come on, man. Like, we're trying to get hyped up for the game, and you're asking me about guys' retirement and getting to the end of their careers and getting hurt and having to tell them that their career's over and this, that, and the third. So he put him in timeout. Like, okay, you chill out. And he was joking, right? It was all good in good fun. It was, again, I love DQ's pressers because there's usually some semblance of that as well. So that was a part of the press conference. But all in all, they're not uptight. And DQ's, again, your team is a reflection of the head coach. They're not uptight. DQ's nice and loose. They're ready to go, but they're prepared. Like I said at the top of the show, they've done everything that they've needed to do to put themselves in a position to get a second consecutive road win, something they haven't done since 2022. So with that said, let's move on to the game plan and what it's going to take for them to get it done. So I've got 4 offensive keys. I've got 4 defensive keys. Let's start with the offensive keys for Washington in this game. And we start with the first offensive key. Stay true to who you are. I think this is really important. Off the heels of what we just watched, one of the most epic performances by a rookie quarterback, really any quarterback, but a rookie in particular, 21 of 23, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, another rushing touchdown, and some of the biggest plays we've seen in a Commanders jersey in a long time in critical situations. It's easy to fall in love if you're Kliff Kingsbury with what Jaden Daniels is morphing into and say, hey, let's throw it a little bit more. That's not who we are. In the first 3 games of the season, we've run it more than we've passed it in every single game. And in most instances, it's not very close. We've run it 5 to 7 to 10 more times in these games, right? So I will say that as we get closer to JD getting comfortable, the number of rushes to passes gets closer and closer to one another. That said, we are a team that prides ourselves in running the football first. And we need to remain committed to the run despite, Jaden Daniels' progression and growth. We need to continue to remain true to who we are, which is a team. We did not run it effectively in terms of the yardage, right? If not for Eckler's 24-yard run, the average is terrible in the game against the Bengals. We were not super effective. Brian Robinson had 16 carries for 31 yards. That's less than 2 yards a carry. But they kept running it anyway, and that is important. And the same thing needs to take place in this game as well. Stay true to who we are. Yes, a star was born. A superstar was born on Monday. You don't need to get away from who you are, though. Continue to stay true to who we've been to this point. Next offensive key, convert on 50% or more of third downs. Since week 1, where we were 2 of 9 on third downs, we've converted on over 50% of our third downs. In the 2 victories, we were over 50% on third downs, or at 50%. Against the Giants, 7 of 14. For some of you mathematically challenged, that's 50%. Last week against Cincinnati, we were 5 of 9 on third downs, okay? So we've been outstanding. Again, that's over 50%. So we've been really, again, when you don't punt and you score on every possession each of the last 2 weeks, that's what it looks like, right? In order to stay in that pocket, we have to continue to be effective on third downs. And a big part of that is staying true to who you are by running the football, get that short pass game going, and making sure you stay ahead of the sticks and stay in manageable third down situations that we can handle. All right. And I'll take it a step further. Right now, we are perfect on fourth downs this season. 5 of 5. We were 1 of 1 against Tampa. We were 1 of 1 against the New York Giants. And we were 3 of 3 against Cincinnati. We have not failed on fourth down to this point. So if you're not going to get it on third down, put yourself in a position where you're there to go for it on fourth down and potentially convert that as well. Next offensive key, protect the Duke and finish drives with points. This has been a constant throughout the season. It's going to remain a constant. We've done a great job up until this point of protecting the football. It needs to continue. We nearly had a turnover, right? Nearly had a turnover. Each of the last 2 weeks, we've nearly had a turnover. Jaden almost threw a pick against the Giants. It was wrestled away by Zach Ertz. And then last week, Ertz fumbled, and it was recovered by Nick Allegretti. So we need to avoid the mistakes, right? Continue to protect the Duke. We've done it phenomenally. We need to continue to do that. Also, I've preached, just get points. As much as we want touchdowns, and that's the goal on every drive, is to score a touchdown, finish it with 6, and put the extra point there and make it 7. That's the goal of every drive. But if it can't be done with 6, get 3. Okay? Get something. Especially with the way this defense is playing, it is imperative that you come away with something. Or as a wise man once said, I'm leaving here with something. Leave the drive with something. Get some points. We want touchdowns. And I'm not tripping about the red zone offense because I think our red zone offense is lethal. You stay away from the penalties, the mistakes, you should be in good shape. And that's another thing that I need to bring up. We have to make sure we avoid the mistakes. We did a great job of that last week. Continue that. Stay away from the penalties. the false starts, the illegal shifts, the illegal motion, the ineligible receiver downfield. Stay away from those penalties that hurt you, that set you back. Holding, right? Stay ahead of the sticks. And then lastly, on offense, keep being explosive. Explosive. We were explosive last week. I called for 4 or more explosive plays. My definition of an explosive is a play of 20 yards or more. We had 4 last week. I asked for 4. They gave us 4. The Eckler 24-yard touchdown run, the Terry touchdown at the end, the Terry 55-yarder, and the Luke McCaffrey 30-yarder on 4th down. We had 4 on the head. We're going to need another 4 or more in this game to be successful, because the Cardinals are going to score points in this game. I assure you of that. They're the 4th highest scoring team in the league. So if you want to beat them, you're going to have to score points. Go in with the same mindset that you had against Cincinnati. We're not coming out of here winning this game 20-16. Understand that this ain't the Giants. You're not going to be able to win with 7 field goals, 21-18. You want to beat the Cardinals, you're going to have to score. You're going to need explosive plays to help you do that. Get to the defensive keys. And the first defensive key, contain Kyler Murray and the explosives. Look, I didn't say eliminate, because we're not going to eliminate Kyler Murray in the pocket, getting out of the pocket, extending. We're not going to eliminate that. Nobody eliminates that from Kyler Murray. What you can do is play damage control when he gets out of the pocket. Don't allow him to run for 17 yards, for 20 yards. Don't allow him to roll out, set up shop, and fling it 45, 50 yards in the air to a wide open receiver. You've got to make sure you stay plastered to these receivers when he gets out of the pocket, because that's when the real damage happens. While Kyler Murray can be dynamic from the pocket, he is most lethal when he gets outside of the pocket and the play breaks down and guys start to get mesmerized by, oh shit, Kyler Murray's out of the pocket. They lose sight of their luggage, and next thing you know, it's a 62-yard game. He's got a cannon, and he can flick it from these weird angles. He does not have to have his feet set. Stay plastered to your receivers. Limit the amount of explosives that happen in this game, because they're going to happen. But there can't be 5 massive Kyler Murray completions in this game. That's losing football. 1 or 2, probably going to happen. I'm baking those in to the end result. 4 or 5 of those, you'll probably get beat. Slow down James Conner and the Cards' rushing attack is the second defensive key. We have been awful the last 2 weeks stopping the run. Not solid, not below average, awful stopping the run the last 2 weeks. Downright despicable and disgusting. And James Conner is as physical as it gets in the league as a runner. And if we don't come with better tackling efforts than what we've seen in the first 3 weeks, it'll get very, very ugly in this game very, very fast. The Lions shut him down last week. I would imagine he's looking to bounce back in a major way, and he is licking his chops watching film on this defense that can't tackle anybody. We have got to find a way to be more effective at stopping the run. Because if we can't stop the run, and they got a 2-way go of it, throwing and running, I don't know how we come out of the desert a winner. Next defensive key, stiffen in the red zone and create a turnover. I just want one. Ball is life, man. I'm just looking for a little life. That's it. Just a little life, not a bunch, just one. But the bigger thing there is stiffen in the red zone, because the Cardinals are going to move the ball against this defense. Everybody does, okay? What we've got to find a way to do is what we did against Cincinnati. And you know what? That might be the formula moving forward. Bend but don't break. Find a way to limit points in the red zone. Last week, the Bengals hit the red zone 4 times, but they only came away with 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, we hit the red zone 3 times, came away with 3 touchdowns. That was the difference in the game. And maybe, just maybe, that could be the difference in this game. Cardinals move it down the field, but they can't find the end zone. We're going to give up yards. We're going to give up first downs. Can we stiffen in the red zone and not give up a bunch of touchdowns? That may be the deciding factor in the outcome of this game. Be nice to create a turnover too. That never hurt anybody. And then lastly, the final defensive key, hold the Cardinals to less than 60% on third downs. We haven't done that yet. Okay? In no game this season have we held the opponent to less than 6. That's a low bar, by the way. I hope you are aware that that is a terrible bar to set for your defense. But we're taking baby steps here. Okay? We're taking baby steps. Bucks were 9 of 13 in week 1. The Giants were 4 of 8. So technically speaking, that's 50%. But they didn't have a lot of opportunities in terms of third downs. Right? 8 is not a lot. But so let me walk that back. The Giants were 4 of 8. So that's 50%. Still not good. But that's way better than our league, than our average for the season, which is 61%. Last week, the Bengals went 6 of 10 on third downs for 60%. Okay? So the Bucks were over 70%. The Bengals were at 60 and the Giants were at 50. Can we find a way to keep the Cardinals under 60% of their third down conversions? All right? It'd be great if we held the Cardinals to 3 of 10. That would be a cause for celebration. But I'm more rational than that. I understand that that's not where this defense is right now. If we can just hold the Cardinals to 6 of 10, if we could just hold the Cardinals to 5 of 10, if we could just hold the Cardinals to 6 of 11, I can live with that. I can live with that. All right? It's a low bar, but it's one that we have to set if we want to win this game. Give yourselves a chance on third downs. Give yourself a chance on fourth down. So those are the keys. And this, I've said all of this, and I've talked all week about how excited I am, and I've been on cloud 9 all week, man. Who are we kidding? I've been on cloud 9. I'm still on cloud 9 right now. But this is the part where I've said all of this good stuff, and I've convinced you that we can win this game, and this is the part where I tell you, but we're not going to win the game, right? That's my move, because normally we don't win this game. And so this is where I tell myself when I'm making my picks, hey, I'm going to pick the Cardinals because I want a happiness hedge. I think we can win this game, but I expect to lose this game. And if I pick the Cardinals and they win, then I get a win on my sheet and I don't feel as bad, right? They did what I thought they were going to do, which is go to Arizona and lose. But if I pick Arizona and we somehow win, like I did last week, pick Cincinnati, and we somehow win, I don't give a shit about the loss. I'm more ecstatic for the win, for the team, right? So it's that happiness hedge. That's how you play it safe. I told you I've always been cautious when it comes to this team because that's how they've trained me to think. I'm not doing that this time around. I want it all. Why can't I have the pick and the win all at the same time? I want it all. Damn it. I'm greedy. I said I wanted one of the 2 games on the road. They got the one that I wasn't expecting. Well, damn it. I want it all now. I'm being greedy. I want both of these games on the road. And truth be told, I think we're a better team than the Arizona Cardinals. But there's only one way to prove it. Go out and win the football game. Get to 3-1. Surprise people even more. Forget about everybody else. Surprise this fan base. They want to believe. They want to be all in. I want that stadium packed with Commanders fans for the Week 5 contest against the Cleveland Browns. You beat the Arizona Cardinals, and that Northwest Stadium will be rocking in Week 5. I guarantee you. This is a winnable game. But you're going to have to play your ass off. You're going to have to execute. You're going to have to do a lot of the same things you did last week because Arizona can score the football. You're going to have to be aggressive. If you get to a 4th and 2 and you're in your Cardinals territory or you're near midfield, you might have to press the gas. I love the tempo with which they're playing. If you watch the mic'd up with Brian Robinson, they're talking about mashing the gas. Keep going. Let's put our foot on their necks. When you listen to the confidence that this team has right now, that shit is permeated and it's bled over to people like myself, where I'm all of a sudden confident, right? Sam Cosme was on the Next Man Up podcast, and he said, it's the first time I've played in a game ever in my life at any level where I looked at the team across the line of scrimmage and I said, they can't stop us. He was right. They didn't stop us. That's the kind of mentality they have. That's the kind of confidence Jaden Daniels has instilled in this football team. Now go out and do it again, because one game doesn't make you a champion. One game doesn't get you into the postseason. It's the consistency of it that's going to get us where we want to go. This season has a chance to be special because we weren't expecting it to be. At least I wasn't. I can't speak for some of you. Some of you had us winning 11 games before the season started. Some of you had us winning 10 games before the season started. I'm not talking to you. You already thought this was possible. Maybe not the way that it's happening, but you thought it was possible. I didn't. Well, now I do. But if it's going to happen, games like these need to go in the favor of the good guys. Anybody, anywhere, anytime. You know the mission. You know what's at stake. You know what needs to be done. If you're thinking about making the playoffs, you don't think this is one of the teams that'll be looking for a wild card if you don't win the division? You don't think the Cardinals are one of the teams that's going to be looking for a playoff spot at the end of the season? Don't you think a win against them here in Week 4 will go a long way in helping you separate yourself from a team like Arizona? I damn sure do. 33-27. Commanders win this football game. They're going to have to get some stops in the red zone in order to make this come to fruition. It won't be easy. It'll be edge of your seat. You'll be a nervous wreck. But if this offense is what we think it is, they can go into Arizona and get it done. If they don't, guess what? We're 2-2. We split on the road here, and we go home with a chance to get back over 500. But I want to see this team continue to improve. Here's another opportunity to do that. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. What says you? Leave it down in the comment section. Score more. What do you think is going to happen in this game? Do the Commanders make it 3 in a row after dropping their season opener? Or do the Cardinals do the thing that a lot of people think they're going to do, which is send us crashing back to earth, even us back up at 2-2, and send us trying to figure out some things and leave us with more questions than answers after this game? Score more down in the comment section. Leave a like if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content if you haven't already done that as well. And I'll see you for the post-game show afterwards. I'm looking forward to this. I'm so excited. I haven't been this excited for a game in quite some time because that felt like a movie and it was incredible. And now this is the sequel. And I'm dying to see what they did based off of the first one being so awesome. What do you got in store for the sequel? Will it live up to the billing? Or will you leave this game, like most sequels, a little disappointed? Like, yeah, it wasn't better than the first one. Or will we go, yo, they killed it. That shit was epic. Only one way to find out. I'll be in front of my television at 4:05 on Sunday afternoon. If you're at the game, you know what to do. I'll be looking for that report first thing Monday morning on my desk. See you guys next time. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone.